Okay, welcome back to topic B, and we are going to learn how to use the Excel commands on the ribbon. So we have our tabs, okay, so that was our file, our home, insert, page layout, formulas, data, review, and view. And then we have tell me. This is a nice little feature that if you don't know where something is on your ribbon down here, then you can actually click on tell me, type in what you're looking for, and then it will bring you to the correct ribbon and tab. So then you have your groups in your ribbon. This whole thing is your ribbon. Your groups down here is what you have, like your font groups. So it tells you like your color, your background, the sizes, the different types that you can do as far as your font styles. And then you have like your bold, italicized, and underlined, and then you have your borders. So each one of these are going to be groups that we are going to be able to use. You also have a dialog box launcher, so anytime that you see like this little small box, that means it's going to give you not only this information in here, but it's also going to give you additional information and options. And then you have your commands. So each one inside your group is called a command. So let's take a look at a few of these as we go through. So you should have your Excel sheet up. Okay, and on your Excel sheet, here is my home tab, and then here are my groups on my ribbon. Now here's the little dialog box that they were talking about. So you can hover over it, and it will tell you that this is to customize your text when you give an exact look that you want. So if I were to click this, it's going to bring up a whole dialog box, and it's going to, you will see that it has my color, which here's my color. And then if I have any alignments to do or numbers, it's actually going to pull it over here. So if I want to customize different numbers, if I want to align it a certain way to either wrap the text or merge the cells, then I can do that. It has your font, so if I wanted to come in here and find like the Times New Roman, then I could within this dialog box here. Okay, take that pause out with the dialog box, and I will bring it back up and start over. Okay, so you have your number. If I wanted to have a specific date, time, currency, or just however I wanted to format my numbers, I have alignment, which I can wrap text and merge cells. And then I have font. So if I wanted to go in here for Times New Roman, or if I have like the regular, bold, italic, the different font sizes. Here's my color here. All of that information is sitting here, but instead of doing it one by one within these boxes, you can actually do it all at once. And then here is your border, however you would like that. Your fill options, which is also this little paint bucket up here. And then your protection. So if you want it locked or hidden, then you can do that as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. So on this here, it says that right now that if I were to hit fill, it would go ahead and put that as yellow. Yellow is really hard to see, and they will tell you in some of the management trainings to stay away from red and to stay away from yellow. Yellow is hard to see unless it's like a highlight and you're actually wanting to highlight something on a form. And red is just really kind of a negative and sign of anger. So you want to stay away from those two colors when doing so. I will pick blue. Blue is very appealing. And then if I wanted to come in here and I wanted to put this as a bold, then I could. And then let's say that I wanted this to be Times New Roman. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and auto-populate that. The good thing about this is that if I were to drop this menu down and I wanted to see what it would look like, you'll see over here that my name is changing as I scroll over each one of these. And I can just find something that looks nice and something that might also be appealing. Obviously, I don't want that because that would be really hard to read on a spreadsheet. But we'll go with that one. So, and then I can come here and either choose on the list of my font size. And obviously, as I change it, it changes with it. So I will go to 20. And then I want a nice border around it. Okay, so I'm going to do an all border, or I can do a thick border. And so now that you look at it, you can see that it's extremely different than my last name box, okay, for Smith, than my first name. And so you customize this however you want to. And then if I wanted to do both boxes, then I would really just highlight both boxes and I would just do both of them at the same time. Okay, so now that is a little bit about that in your dialog box launcher. Okay, so that is the information as far as like your font and how to change that, and your tabs, and then your dialog boxer and your commands, dialog box launcher, and your commands that are within those particular cells. So when you go to a tell me, it will actually tell you to search a term. If you wanted to insert a picture or insert sheet column. So if you just put insert image, then it will tell you where to do that at. And those are your search results. Or you could actually list the last 5 commands that you had chosen if you don't remember where you went on your ribbon tab. So here's some screen tips and key tips. Your screen tips will appear when you place the mouse pointer over a command, and that is some of the other elements that we used in that interface. So we kind of went over that in the last section, and then your key tips differ from your screen tips. This allows you to actually interact with a particular command on a screen. So when we come back to our Excel sheet, we're coming in here, and if I don't know what something's going to do, then like Format Painter, it would tell me this is exactly what it's going to do. This is what it looks like. Here's how you would use it. And you can either do tell me more if you don't quite understand it, or you can go ahead and just go by the instructions that are sitting there. If I didn't know what the % sign did, then it would tell me that this is what you do. Now, what it also does is it gives you the shortcuts that you can do on it as well. So if I wanted to go ahead and we'll choose an easier one, if I wanted to do a bold, it would be the Control key plus B. Okay, so that's the Control key plus B. So those are the different ways that you can actually look into if you wanted to get better on the keyboard or whatever the other case may be. Now, I will tell you that I have made a shortcut Word document for some of your shortcuts. So if you wanted to copy, then it would be Control plus the letter C. If you wanted to do a find, then it would be Control plus the letter F. Paste is Control V, and so on. Control Z is one of my favorite ones because I like to undo the information quite often, and so that is a Control Z option right there. Here's your Control A. This is one of the other ones we talked about in the topic A. And so Control A will select all, Control B bold, italicize, and then if you wanted to toggle in between screens instead of trying to find and click the screen that you want down below, then what you would do is you would just hit Alt and then Tab, and this takes you back to the screen that you were on previously. So I was previously on my Excel sheet. If I do Alt Tab, then I go back to my Word document. And then that way you can just kind of Alt Tab in between them and not try to find out where you're at. Okay, so here's some of your screen tips here and your key tips. So these will tell you what you can do and how you can do it. If you wanted to clear it, then you could do so and delete everything in that cell. It's not something that is used very often, I will tell you that, but you will know like where they're at when they come in. Okay, so your quick access toolbar. We went over this also just a little bit. So your easy access to commonly used commands. If you wanted to customize it, you could. You have your undo, your redo, and your save button. Those are your options. So here on your Excel sheet, here's your save, your undo, and your redo. Okay, and then if you wanted to drop this little arrow down, then that's where you could either add a little bit more, or you could go ahead and add more commands. When you add more commands, these are just what is already sitting in your ribbons down here. So if I wanted to have borders, then I could, and I would move it over there and I would add it. Or if I wanted a shortcut to insert cells, then I would do that and I'd move it over here to add it. Okay. Okay, you have your mini toolbar and your context menu. So when you copy and paste, or instead of going like back and forth to the top of the ribbons and everything, then you could actually have your paste options, or you could just have it right here where it's just a real quick at the tip of your fingers, and you can just move it over, and then you have your other paste options when they pop up on your context menus. So you have a couple of different options if you didn't want to, you know, continue trying to find it on your actual ribbon tab. It'll show it right here when you copy and paste or when you add in additional information. Okay, so let's practice some of this. Really what I would like you to practice is that if you are in here, I'll just go ahead and do a new one. So if you are in Excel, then I would like for you, let's do two things. So let's type in January here. And then we're going to step out of that cell. And when you step back in it, you have January here and you have A1, so you know what cell you're in. And then I want you to take your solid plus sign and I want you to scroll across. And you will notice that down below my scroll bar, it'll tell me what's getting ready to go into those cells. So like that was February, March, April, and then we're going to go all the way to December. And this way you don't have to type in every single month across. And when you let go, then all of your months are sitting there. So that's the first thing that I want you to do. And then the second thing is I want you to put your arrows in between any of those columns that are already highlighted. And I want you to double click so that it goes ahead and it spaces them out correctly. Okay, the second thing that I want you to do is that in order to auto fill a number, if I were to put in 1 here and I were to autofill it, it would put 1 all the way down. That's not what I want, okay? So what I want is I want 1 and 2 because I want a sequential order. And then I'm going to highlight both of those. And then I'm going to pull it down because now it's going to go 3, 4, 5 all the way down to, we'll go to 30. I know some of the months have 31, but we'll go to 30 just so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so that is your autofill on numbers, and that is your autofill as far as like your dates of the month. And we'll just double click that one to have that one over a little bit more. Now, the next thing that I want you to do is I want you to highlight this information here. Okay, and we are going to change it to Times New Roman. And then we are going to change it to a 14 font. And then I'm going to make it bold. And I'm going to put the background as blue. Okay, remember if blue is not your background, drop that down and have a different blue right there. Okay, so now I'm going to click on this first one and do Control A. And I'm going to double click. Sorry, do your select all and then double click on your columns so that they'll all be spaced out correctly. Okay, and then while I have this highlighted, I am going to do a thick border. And that way that's all taken care of. I guess I probably need some borders in between it too. So we will go ahead and highlight and do an all borders. Okay, so now I have that kind of spaced out. I have all my borders done. Now what you don't want to do is you don't want to click on this one and then do your blue highlight, because as you can see, it'll come all the way out here and it will just go on and on and on and on forever. So that is what you don't want to do. So I'm going to Control Z to undo. You want to make sure that you just have your highlighted area. and then go from there. Okay, so that is how we autofill. That is how we use our ribbon tab and change the background and add borders, and then also change the font style and size, and then autofilling our numbers down. Okay, so down here I will tell you that this is where it shows that I do have 2 Excels up. I am going to close this first one without saving, so that I can only have 1 Excel up. But down here on your ribbon tab, it'll tell you what you have up in each one, and then if you have multiple up, then it will tell you that too. Okay, so this is topic C. We're going to create and save a basic worksheet. So within topic C, you do have your start searching button, and then you have your template styles. If you wanted to come in here in something that was already done, like this is a calendar, so if you didn't want to create your own calendar or you didn't want to create your own budget, then you could actually come in here and you could do that. So we do have the different file formats. You have your Excel workbook, which is the .xlsx, and that has to be behind your actual save. And then you have the Excel macro enable workbook. So sometimes when you open that and it says enable, in order to make changes, then that is going to be your .xlsm. Then you have Excel 97 through 2003. If you have that type of workbook and it's coming over, or you're sending it from a computer that hasn't been updated yet, then it will have the .xls. And that's like when sometimes you receive it or you open it up from somebody else, it'll say, you know, we're going to go ahead and format this to the new Excel, and you just say, okay, it's not a big deal. And then if it's a template, and it's a template that you have created, then you can actually have it as a .xltx. So if you do something like, we have quite a few farmers around here, so if you wanted to do however many fields that you have, and how much wheat it produced, how many bundles of wheat it produced, and then what you sold that wheat for, and you have all of that like on a template that you've created that makes sense to you, you can actually save that as a .xltx, and then that is your template, and then you don't have to worry about trying to find it or doing it again or whatever the case may be. And then you have, if you wanted to do the macro enable template, and then also if you wanted to go ahead and save it as a PDF. So those are the different file formats that we're going to go through, and I will show you where each one of those are. So these are our save and save as commands. This is something that we went over in topic A. You will go to your file option, and then within your background, that's what this list is called, you have save and save as. So let's take a look at that real quick. So if I wanted to save this, and I wanted to go to File, Save As, because remember this is my first time saving it, then I'm going to go ahead and I want to save it on this computer, and I want to save it on my desktop so I can find it. And I'm going to go Excel monthly budget. Okay. So this is already saved as a type of Excel workbook. This is where you would drop it down if you wanted to change that workbook style. So here's like your 97 to 2003. Here's if I wanted to have you push the enabled button if it was a workbook. If you wanted to save it as a PDF, that is all the way down here on your PDF files. And that way nobody can make changes to that Excel workbook. Okay. So those are the different ways that you can change it and save it depending on what you were wanting to do with that. Okay, so the different ways that you can save and save as is you can save it to a OneDrive if you have access to that. You can save it to this PC, which this PC is going to give you like your drives or your desktop or your documents. Or you can add a place. So if you wanted to add a place on where you wanted to save that as, you could. And then if you wanted to browse because you're not sure where it needs to go, it's just going to bring up a whole bunch of file documents for you. Compatibility mode and convert option. So what this tells you is, this is what I was talking about, is if you have a 2003 computer and you send a document to like your workspace, and you have 2016 on your workspace, what it's going to tell you is it's going to say, hey, this isn't compatible, but we're going to go ahead and change that mode for you and convert it. You may lose some of the changes. Now, if you're going from 2003 to 2016, there's not a whole lot you're going to lose. But if you go from 2016 to 2003 on what you have on your computer, then you may lose some of those features that you had changed in converting that file. So that's all that means, is if it's a compatibility mode, then it's going to tell you that that's what it did. You can actually check it for compatibility when you inspect your workbook. So if we come back over here and we are in the info, okay, because this is what first comes up, you can inspect workbook and drop this menu down. You can inspect documents. You can check your compatibility, accessibility, and then check your compatibility. And then this will tell you your different options. So if I had 97, 2007, 2010, then it will show me what this is all compatible with. Okay, so those are a couple of your options there. And then just to keep you safe and not lose any information, just make sure you check that compatibility. Usually if you're going from 13 to 16, then it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so hopefully that is all going well. And we are doing well with our saving and our changing of our documents. So what I'm going to tell you now is I would like for you to go ahead and we are going to save our document as a PDF, just so you can see what it looks like. And if you need to make any of those changes, or if you don't want people to make those changes. So if we go to our Excel sheet and we go to our file and we do save as, we're going to go to my computer, desktop, and then this is going to be Excel, oops, example. Okay, and then I'm going to turn around and take this workbook and I'm going to save it as a PDF. Okay, so those are my options, and now I'm going to hit save. When I go to my desktop and I open this up, it's showing me what it's going to do. So see here, I have lines in between each one of my months, okay, but I do not have lines where my numbers are because we didn't add borders there. Okay, that's what it's showing me. This is PDF file, but see, November and December are on the next one. Okay, so you really have to format this the way that you want it to show before you save it as a PDF. But it'll tell you this is what it's going to look like, and then you're able to either save those changes or you go ahead and delete those changes and you make the adjustments that you need to make. Okay, so with that being said, we are going to move on. Topic D. Now we're going to get into the guts of Excel. So this is where we're going to start entering in data and what we can actually do with that data. Okay, so this is some of the information that we've kind of previously touched on. So this is what's actually in the cell, which is the FX is considered your formula bar. It can help you, and it'll help you to see what formula is in there, and then also what number is in there and what may be wrong. Okay, so this is what actually appears in the cell. So if I have a total here and it's 452,110, that's what appears in the cell, but in my formula bar, this is what's actually there. So there's going to be a little bit of a difference. Okay, if I were to double click in this cell, it would tell me the same thing of what formula was in there. Okay, so you have your cut, copy, and paste commands on there. So that is like your Control C, your Control Z, your Control X. Okay, so I told you that there were multiple ways to do each individual thing. And so here you can either do Control C, and it tells you that the dotted line box around it is copy. Okay, I'm going to double click to release that. You can also go here and you have copy. Okay, does the same thing. Here's your dotted line. Or you can right click and you have copy. Okay, so 3 different ways to do the same exact thing. Find what's comfortable for you and then work your way through it. I am one of those that if I'm typing or I'm in an Excel sheet, I don't like taking my fingers off the keyboard. So Control C, Control B, whatever I'm doing, all of it on the keyboard is how I like to do it. But that's just my preference. It may be easier for you to go up and do copy or just to right click and copy if you're, working both hands at the same time. Okay, so we have redo and undo commands. So your undo command, which is also Control Z, it undoes the last thing that you did. Your redo command will redo your undo. So if I were to come in here and I were to delete out March and click off the cell, then I could come here on my little quick access toolbar and hit undo, and it puts March right back. Or if I delete March, I can do Control Z and it puts March back. So it undoes what I just did. Now if I were to come here and I hit delete, and then I wanted to undo all that, and then I'm like, oh no, I really want to keep May out of there, then I would hit redo and it would take May back out. Okay, or I could just hit undo and it continues to do what I need to do. Or you can hit Control Z as many times as you want, as long as you didn't hit save. Once you hit save, it is really hard to undo. So you need to be very careful about that. Autofill feature. Okay, we kind of practiced and touched on this a little bit in the last section. And so I just want to touch base on it one more time. So if I were to have January here, and I have here my numbers for the months, remember, if you want to do sequential, so actually I'm going to go Control Shift down, that copies all of that, and hit delete. Okay, and I'm going to go Control Shift and the over arrow key and hit delete. Okay, so here, remember I typed in January, and I was able to click here, see my solid plus sign, click here and drag all the way over, and you'll notice right below it, it'll tell me that I'm on December now, so I can let go. Okay, and remember on sequential order, you're going to hit 1, enter, 2, and then you're going to highlight both of those, and then you're going to go in your sequential order. You can see that it says 8, 9, 10, all the way down to wherever you need it to go on your sequential order. Okay, and then it will just autofill it for you. Now, if I wanted this to be all ones, then I would go ahead and I would autofill it this way. Now, autofill is going to become very important when we start going through formulas, so you don't have to retype the whole formula. You can actually just autofill the formula down, and it does it for you. It's amazing. So we will definitely go through that. Okay, so your flash fill, this is recognizing patterns. So if you are entering in, like this one has like the last name and then the first name and then the email address. So if this is going to be like john.silva@develotech.com, and every one of those is going to be that way, where it's the first name dot last name and then @develotech.com, it will actually do it for you. It'll flash fill and you will say yes, and then it will be amazing, and you don't have to type in every single email address, as long as it is the same format. As soon as you take off that format, then you can't do it. So it will recognize that pattern, and it will go ahead and ask you if you want to flash fill, and the answer is usually yes. So you can do that all the way down, and it's amazing. Okay, your clear commands. You have here on where it says like your auto sum and your filter, so this is on your home tab, and it's the ribbon all the way at the end. You have your clear all, your clear formats, clear contents, clear comments, clear hyperlinks, and remove hyperlinks. And that is all these options over here. So here's your home tab here, and then we're going to come all the way down here to editing. And then here's your clear. Okay, so it's deleting everything that is in the cell. So if I have all of this highlighted, okay, January through December, and I want to clear and clear all, it's going to take everything that I've done in that cell. So all of the color, the bold, the borders, the everything that I've done, it just cleared everything out. Now, luckily I haven't saved, so I can hit Control Z and it's all back if I didn't mean to actually do that. Okay, so then if you have like your contents in there or your comments or your hyperlinks, then you can remove all of those. So sometimes you don't want people to actually click on the email address link because sometimes it'll automatically hyperlink it for you. Then you can actually just clear the hyperlink out to where it doesn't make it that, or you can remove the hyperlink completely. So you do have those options too. A comment, okay, so you can right click and you can insert a comment. Okay, so this one says December. So some of you, it's going to be more like end of year evaluation. And that's my comment. So you will know that there is a comment in the box with the little red triangle, and you can just hover over it and it will be right there. So if you wanted to clear that comment, you could click in the box, come here and clear comment. And then that little red triangle is not there in the box anymore and you no longer have a comment. So those are a couple of different options that you have on your Excel sheet if you don't mean to do things or you want to clear something out all at once. Okay, topic E. This is going into the help task pane. This is your where you can go into your help, your search field, your content selection, and your actual search button. So you have to where you can do home, office help center, or contact us. And that is in your file. And then your question mark. Okay, so this is where you can search for help online. And then you have your home here if you wanted to go home. And then you can have change, how do you do this? How do you freeze? How do you take your keyboard shortcuts? All of this information. And then you can also search for what you need. And then you can pin it or you can just take it out. But this is your Excel help. Okay, so that is in your back view under your file button. So this is your file tab, backstage view, and help. Okay, so that's how you get to that. Okay, so that is the end of Unit 1. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for Unit 2. On Unit 2, we will be going through, I'll give you a small preview, of creating worksheet formulas, inserting functions, and reuse formulas and functions. Have a good evening.